Oh, y'all been asking me to do this T.I. versus Lil Flip. The thing has been documented so much. I could tell it, but my thing is, it's been documented so much that I thought people would know. Maybe there's some background stuff you didn't know. Well, let's go through it. All of this started when T.I. came out, and you know, he had a little buzz or whatever. T.I. ended up going to jail for doing something he did. And while he's in jail, Lil Flip is having a problem with T.I. calling himself the King of the South. Like a lot of people did. Like, King of the South? Who is this guy? Like, that's exactly, but it was more of an attention buzz by calling himself the King of the South. Because Southern rappers, they don't have that East Coast swagger. That's something East Coast rappers do. They call themselves king. Like, I'm the ruler of this. I'm the soft Southern rappers, they ain't about that. They about, it's more relaxed, laid back, and you rarely find a battle rapper from the South. That's not their style of rap. So, for somebody to say they were the king of the South, nobody on the South really gonna jump up and be up in arms, really, because they don't care. It's not their thing. And I think T.I. knew, like, hey, that could be my angle. Because he obviously wasn't no king of no South. But as ludicrous as that sounded, he was getting away with it. So Flip was like, hey, wait a minute. You ain't no king of the South. Scarface is here, and if anybody is a king, it would be him. And Lil Flip is from Cloverland. And the Cloverland G's and C-Note and all them over there, ain't no way in the world. This guy who ain't done nothing yet, calling himself the King of the South. Now, T.I. at this time was in jail. So, he's making it sound as if, like, T.I. went to jail, like, once that started happening. Like, T.I. was like, oh, he waited till I went to jail, then he started popping. Which isn't true. Flip is one of the freestyle kings. Like, he was a shorty when he was doing this, like 13, 14, so when T.I. was like, man, don't nobody know him, he ain't no G like that, and then don't nobody know him in the streets for being that, which they really, his rap success wasn't based off that. It wasn't based off the fact that he's a gangster. You know, this is the way we wrote, you know, they looked at him as far as a young kid. That's like saying Lil Wayne. He wasn't no gangster. You know, he was around gangsters, or they look at him like a kid from Crisscross or something that grew up. And now they probably been around gangsters and they still talking hard, but now people looking at him like, who is you to talk like that? And even though some people in Houston felt like, yeah, I understand what T.I. is talking about, yeah, he didn't grow up like that. And that's because the reason why T.I. could do that is because he had some connections with some of the people in Cloverland, and he thought that would get him by. So T.I. was going to do a documentary and talking about he was going to patch it up in Cloverland with Lil Flip. But Flip saw it differently and said, oh no, he's trying to do a whole different angle. He's trying to come over here like I came to his hood and embarrassed him type thing. So they coming over there to film their little documentary. And they didn't come over there to meet Lil Flip and all of this. And from what I've heard different things about this. I heard Flip wasn't there when this happened. Some people said, oh, Flip was there and they got into it. it was some dudes that were cool with Flip, and he was like, "Oh yeah, man, let me dap it up, man," and people didn't like that. You know, you ain't finna come to the hood, even if they didn't agree with you, and disrespect Lil Flip like that, and that's just too disrespectful. Because now you're disrespecting Clover Lane G. Like, it's okay to do that, and that wasn't gonna be accepted. So when he came over there, he dapped it up with somebody, and they swung and punched T.I. in the car. T.I. didn't get out the car; he was in the car. They swung and punched him in the car. Then the bodyguard started shooting, and everybody was dispersed. And then they turned around and got up out of there. And then everybody went to go get their heat. And it was like, man, this fool T.I. came up in here blasting. You know, they come in the pit starting stuff and blah, 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 blah. So later, after that incident, T.I. made a call and got Scarface on the phone. And when they got Face on the phone, he recorded an interview and released it and put it on a mixtape and everything. And Scarface kind of didn't like that because, you know, he didn't know he was being recorded, one. And then the fact that he put it out there and it was like he was going up against one of the Clover Lane G's, and the people that he was talking about on there is they roll with Flip, you know, like they cool with Flip. So it was a conflict that was gonna have to get resolved one way or another. Luckily, it was resolved the other way when Jay Prince said, "Man, enough of this silliness. You know, we finna sit everybody down and end this," because Flip was going in talking about shooting his kids. I mean, Flip went all the way hard with it after that with the records. So after that, everybody decided, all right, now we gotta chill because this is getting crazy. And with that done, everybody realized that we were going a bit too far, too hard, too far. So yeah, let's go ahead and squash that thing. So it'd be best to do that. So that's how it went down, and I'm out. That's about the best I could tell it, because that's really it. I mean, Flip is still touring and doing stuff independently, but it ruined his career because T.I. used that as a platform to step over Flip, and it worked. He stepped right over Flip, and it catapulted him to a new level, and it can kind of replace Flip. I mean, Flip had hits on that album with Bun B, DJ Screw, them had him just popping. I mean, shoot, Game Over, all that, man. I mean, he had the South blazing. So he had more right to be called the king of the South than anybody else at that time. He was putting out hits, especially for Houston. I mean, they were doing it. They were doing it pretty big. So it shined a lot of light on the city. But it also derailed him, and then Flip, just trying to be super gangster to the core, kept going to jail. And it was ruining his career. And then when Columbia Records let him go, then he came back and nobody cared. And just killed his career, basically, as far as the mainstream. When he had fought so hard to get there, you know. It was sad to see that happen, but he's touring, still making music, still doing shows, paying the rent. So shout out to Flip, shout out to T.I. I'm out.